Welcome to MDL Crochet for this tutorial on the date night wrap. The wrap is done in 150 stitches wide, 205 high. The chain needs to be a 5 plus 5 plus 5 continuing because the stitch pattern is a 5 stitch repeat as well as a 3 row repeat. All you need to know are the simple stitch, the knit stitch, and the starburst stitch. If you do not know the starburst stitch, I will be putting a link for it here. The border is done in a Tunisian Picot border. If you do not know how to do the Picot border, I'll be placing a link for it here. I did this in a 2-weight with a 6.5 millimeter cabled Tunisian crochet hook. You could use a thicker yarn, however, it distorts the starburst effect. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. So I went ahead and I did my chain of 20. And I went ahead and I pulled up the loops in the back bump. Now we're going to do our standard return pass, which for standard return pass is just chain 1. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And you're going to do that all the way down to the end till you have 1 loop left on your hook. Now that our foundation row is done, now we need to do 1 row all the way across a Tunisian simple stitch, which is go through the bar, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And you're going to do that all the way down with a standard return pass. And this is starting row 1 of the repeat. We just got done pulling up our simple stitches and did the standard return pass. So now we're going to start row 2 of the repeat. You're going to start with a regular simple stitch. And then you're going to do a knit stitch. A knit stitch takes you between the 2 bars on the next stitch, and you're going to angle towards the back. You're splitting the bars, and then you're bringing your loop through them. Then we're going to do a simple stitch, and this is where we're going to be doing our starburst stitch. Now for the starburst stitch, you need to go below the return pass from the row below, as well as above your chain. You need to go right where that where I'm poking at, and you'll be going in there. So you'll be skipping this stitch for right now. Go down, and you're going to go below the return pass but above your chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then you're going to backtrack to that loop you just skipped and put your needle through, yarn over and pull up a loop and knock those off of your needle. And we're going to do that again. So go back into that gap between the return pass and your chain, pull up your loop, and then we're going to go to the simple stitch that was very next one, yarn over and pull those 2 off. And that's what it'll look like. You'll have these loops here that are coming from the bottom here, because you can see your chain here, and then you can see the gap where you went below the return pass from the row below, and it'll create these loops right here. Now we do a simple stitch, and the very next stitch, a knit stitch, a simple stitch, then we're going to be doing the very next starburst bottom again. So we skip this stitch, go down, go below the return pass but above your chain, poke your needle through, yarn over and pull up your loop, go back to that stitch you just skipped, pull up your loop and drop both of those off. and then do that one more time. Go back in, pull up a loop, and then go to the very next simple stitch, yarn over, and drop those off. And then it's a simple stitch, a knit stitch, simple stitch, and a starburst bottom stitch. So skip this one, go to the bottom, because we're going to go ahead of it, and in between the gap, and go to the bottom of your return pass from the previous row, but above your chain, yarn over and pull up your loop, and then backtrack to the one you just skipped. Put your needle through it and yarn over and pull up the loop and pull through the two, and then do that one more time, and we're going to go forward to the very next stitch, yarn over and pull up your loop, and then it's a simple stitch, knit stitch, and simple stitch, and then you do your standard enclosure and a standard return pass. So yarn over, chain one, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, all the way down to the end till you only have that one loop left on your hook. Okay, so now we're on to row 3 of the repeat. The only aspect of this repeat that does change for the majority of it is the starburst area. So we're going to do a simple stitch. So where you've done a simple stitch, you'll do a simple stitch on this row. And where you've done a knit stitch, you'll do a knit stitch. So a simple stitch, a knit stitch, a simple stitch, and then we're going to do a full stitch right after that simple stitch. You're just going to go right into it. And then what we're going to do is between where we did the prior starburst, between here, you have that return pass from the row below. So you're going to take your needle and you're going to angle it right into there, below that return pass, in between. And you can see the return pass right here. This is the return pass. So we're going to take our needle and angle it right underneath it. So you just go down, angle your needle, and pull up your loop. And then we're going to go right into the next, pull up our loop. So we have 3. Now we're going to yarn over and go through all 3. Then we're going to put our yarn in front of, because we lost our simple stitch here. Now we're putting it back. And then we're going to go right into the very next one and do our simple stitch, a knit stitch, simple stitch, and then again we'll do a full stitch, and then we're going to split our previous part of our starburst, and so we can see the return pass from below, and you're going to take your needle and just go underneath that return pass, yarn over and pull up your loop, and then you're going to go into the very next stitch, yarn over and pull up your loop. Now you have 3 for 2, so you're going to yarn over, pull through all 3, then you're going to put your yarn in front of, because we got to get that stitch back. And then it's a simple stitch, then you can let it go, a knit stitch, simple stitch, and then we got a full stitch. And again, this is the drop down for the starburst, and we got to go through that return pass below it, and just let your needle go through it, That way the return pass is above your needle. Yarn over and pull up a loop. And then go to the very next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You're going to yarn over and go through 3. And then take your yarn and put it in front of your needle. And then go to the very next simple stitch. Knit stitch, simple stitch, and then your end stitch. And then you're going to chain 1 and do a standard return pass. Yarn over, pull through 2. Watch out for this yarn in front ofs. Yarn over, pull through 2, 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 and you'll do that all the way down. Alright, so now we're going to start our border. Now you need to end as soon as you do the return pass for the row 3 of the repeat, because we need to do a row of nothing but simple stitches. So go ahead and pull up your row of simple stitches all the way across, because we're going to be starting our Picot border. So go ahead and just pull up your simple stitches and a standard return pass. Alright, so now we're pulling through the last few right now, and this is how we're going to end up doing our Picot border. I did a video on the Picot border and I'll insert it here, but I'm going to show you again. So you're going to go into your very first stitch, pull it up like you would a simple stitch, but you're going to yarn over and just slip it off. You only want that one loop left on your hook. Then we're going to go into the very next one. You're going to yarn over, pull up your loop and slip it off, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and then go right back into that loop that we just slipped off, and we need to slip it off there because you're bunching up that chain 3. And then the next stitch is just a regular slip off. Then we go into the very next stitch. We're going to yarn over, you're going to slip off, and then chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then go right back into that stitch that we just did the slip off for this, and then slip it off again. Now your yarn will stretch, because when you're stretching it, these are getting a little tighter, but then when you pull them up, everything evens itself out. So we'll go to the next one and we'll do just a regular standard slip off. Go to the very next stitch, do a standard slip off and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then right back into that same loop, yarn over and do the slip off again. Go to the next loop and do a standard slip off. And then the very next loop we go into, we do a standard slip off and a chain 3. That is the pattern. 1, 2, and 3. And you'll complete this all the way around your project. And then we go to the edge, do our normal edge as a slip off, and then we turn our work. Then you're going to go back into that same edge stitch, but you're going to go into the gap right now. Yarn over and pull up a loop. And you're going to go into these side stitches and pull up your loops so you can do your base row for your Picot. And this is all simple stitches. So you'll just pull up all these simple stitches and then do a standard return pass and then continue your Picot border. And that is how you'll turn corners and go along other sides. Now the side that you're going to have an issue with will be the base row chain, and you will be putting your needle in between each of these chains. That's how you'll pull up your border. I'll get there and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now we're turning onto our chain side, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to just pull up your loops at the chain, and you got to go underneath each individual chain in order to pull up your loops. They may be a little bit tight for you, but you'll be able to do it. And you can just pull them through. If you have to stretch it some, stretch it some. It'll all come back together. Trust me on that. It's going to be a little bit of a tight fit. And you're just going to pull up all your loops through those chains, right underneath those chains. And you'll do that again all the way down, do your standard return pass, and then do your picot. And that'll be it for you. And this is what your wrap will look like. Again, it's very elegant. That's what the back looks like. You have the picot border all the way around. And you do this in a 2-weight. It'll come out very elegantly. Anything more thicker, 3 or 4s, it kind of distorts the pattern a little bit. Plus, it makes it a lot thicker. And it is a very easy, simple pattern to do. It is a 5-stitch, 3-row repeat. That is all there is to it. And if you found this tutorial helpful, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, folks, keep stitching.